It's the finals of the North American International Championship, and Federico Camporese takes on Marco Silva. These are the two top-ranked players in the entire world. Marco is already a two-time international champion, including a win earlier this season in Brazil. But even the best make mistakes, and this small misplay, it might have been the difference between winning and losing another championship. It's the last turn of Fede's Tailwind. On the field, Marco has his +1 special attack Calyrex Shadow and a Rillaboom, while Fede has a Specs Miraidon and a Lunala. Rillaboom still has Fake Out available, Calyrex has Protect Live, and both players have already used their Terastallization. Despite Shadow Shield, Lunala will go down to an Astral Barrage from here, and Miraidon will as well. This really leaves three possibilities for how this turn could play out. Option 1, the straightforward play, is that Lunala attacks Calyrex on the last turn of Tailwind. If Calyrex does not protect, it will get knocked out, and Fede will win the game on the spot. The Rillaboom cannot ever outdamage the +1 defense Lunala in a 1v1 situation, barring a critical hit. The second option is that Lunala could click Trick Room. This would punish the Calyrex's Protect and put Lunala in a position to clean up the rest of the game with minimal resistance. However, if Marco called that and attacked with Calyrex, he would also win on this turn. You might call this turn a 50-50, but that's not the right way of thinking about it. We need to look at it more deeply. If the Calyrex attacks, the game does end one way or the other this turn, and if Trick Room goes up, the game also ends this turn. But what about the last option? If Calyrex does choose to protect, as Lunala attacks, then Tailwind will expire, and Marco will threaten either an Astral Barrage to knock out both Pokemon, which can be blocked by a Wide Guard from Lunala, or a Psychic into the Miraidon that plays around Wide Guard. In other words, it would come down to a 50-50. This is what actually happened, and Fede would go on to get that call right and win the game. But this is only because Marco chose to click Fake Out into the Miraidon. If Marco had clicked Woodhammer into Miraidon, then Miraidon would be in range of Grassy Glide on the next turn. In this situation, Grassy Glide and Astral Barrage after Tailwind expires would be an unlosable situation for Marco. Instead, by clicking Fake Out, Marco has opted into a 50-50 on the next turn if he gets the call right on this turn. And that brings up option 3. If Fede were to read the Protect and Woodhammer combination, he could have clicked Draco Meteor and Moongeist Beam into Rillaboom. Now, neither of these players have posted their full teams publicly as of recording, but Rillaboom would almost certainly faint to the combination of those two attacks and Woodhammer recoil. Clicking Fake Out covers for this possibility and turns the game into a 50-50 if Fede calls that out. But clicking Astral Barrage would also cover for this scenario where Fede doubles the Rillaboom and wins the game in 2 of our 3 scenarios. To make all of this a little easier to visualize, I've put it all in a chart to break down the odds of each player winning in each situation. This is very fundamentally game theory, and one day I will actually use my economics degree and make a video explaining the basics of game theory using exclusively Pokemon examples. And if you want to see that video when it comes out, you should subscribe to the channel because it's going to be awesome and very long and hopefully not too complicated, but Professor Audi is going to be in the building. But anyways, I did run this through a Nash equilibrium calculator online just to double check my work. And in this situation, Marco should never click Protect and Fake Out. If he believes Fede will attack Calyrex, he should protect it and Woodhammer. And if he believes Fede will do anything else, he should Astral Barrage and Fake Out the Miraidon. And if those are his options, he gives himself a 50% chance of winning on this turn. Instead, the play he actually makes gives himself a chance to lose on this turn, but he did not give himself a chance to win on this turn. His best case outcome was delay the 50-50 until next turn, and on that turn, he ended up getting it wrong. And this is one of those important lessons I believe every VGC player should learn. There are situations where you can choose to make a read. Sometimes there are situations where you have to make a read. You don't have a choice. And in these situations, the first step is figuring out what you think your opponent will do. And Marco did that correctly here. He realized Fede would attack the Calyrex with Lunala. But the second step in making that read is figuring out which option you have to punish it will win you the game the most often. And because Marco did not fully commit to his read on this turn, he made the worst possible play and lost game 1 of the finals as a result. Marco would go on to win game 2 of this set before losing the deciding game 3 and crowning Federico Camporisi as 2025's North American International Champion. Also, we have Fede on our podcast talking about his win, which you can watch right now. But before that, you can like, and comment, and subscribe, and all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys later.